Okay, so today we're going to be looking at Project Cars on the PS5. This is a game that came out in 2015 and it's still one of the best single player racing games that you can get for the PlayStation. So this isn't a full review. We know that Project Cars has got lots of different tracks, lots of different vehicles. It runs absolutely great. It ran great on the PS4. It still runs well on the PS5. It's very smooth. It looks good. It sounds good. It also plays very well with the controller, despite what you may read. Often it's said that you just cannot play this game with the gamepad. All the gameplay on here is shown using a DualSense controller. I'll have a separate video showing my control settings later, but it's perfectly okay. It also does play great with a wheel. Force feedback on a wheel is excellent. But let's take a look at what really makes it shine in terms of single player offline racing. So there is a career mode, but I don't normally touch that. The best way to play, as far as I'm concerned, if you like single player racing, and this is in terms of actual racing, is to pick a car, pick a track, pick some weather conditions and set yourself up a good custom race. So the star for me with this is, and some Project Cars purists may laugh at this, but the AI drivers are absolutely superb, with one or two provisos. So the main good point about them is the actual pacing. Now this makes a real difference. In Project Cars 2, for example, if you pick a same make race, you'll find that the cars just go round in a train, equal distances between them, very rarely doing any overtaking. So unless you're up with that pace, you're pretty much stuck. You'll either hold the rest of the cars up or you'll be way out in front. With Project Cars itself, there's a vast spread of times, so you might get that the first couple of cars pull off ahead, then there's a group of three, then there's a couple of cars, single cars on their own. So what you might have, if you're not really up with the pace of the leaders, you can have an absolute thrilling battle for lap after lap just to maybe get 7th or 8th position, continuously jockeying with a couple of the cars. It really makes for some exciting racing. During a race, you'll be seeing cars up ahead constantly pulling out on each other, trying to pass, and lots of excitement going on. There'll always be cars in your rear view mirror putting a lot of pressure on you to hold that line correctly, and with the great handling that you get from Project Cars with the simulation style handling, you really have to be careful not to overdo things, but it does give you some really exciting races. So you can see here we're using the Ginetta Juniors here, which is a great little car. You can see cars in front of us pulling out to try and take this corner. Now we go a little bit too deep in that, and already somebody spots the gap and goes up the inside, another car pressuring us, but we've managed to get back on track. You can see the cars up ahead still battling for position. It just creates some really exciting races. In fact, you could take these Ginetta Juniors, for example, although they're a slow car, they give great racing. You could do a custom race on every track in the game, say 12 laps. You've got hours and hours of fun. Right, so what's the bad thing about the AI? Right, well, they're a little bit kamikaze at times, and they don't always adhere to the track limits, as you'll often see them cutting past on the grass. Now that's not so bad. That actually adds to a bit of the excitement. It's not too bad at all. What I would say is you need to let them settle down for the first few corners. They really like to cause a bit of chaos, so they're all over the place. I tend to start just with a random grid position for these custom races, and you'll see everything battling around. Now, it's generally not too bad. Once they've settled out and stretched out, again, the racing is superb. The only real time this is a problem is with open wheel racing. They're nutters, basically. The chances of you getting past the first chicane at Monza after a start are practically zero. So the only real way to get around that, I think, obviously if you're up with a pace and you've got it spot on, you've got a little bit of a chance, probably about the same chance as winning the lottery. But the best thing to do with that is possibly start from last place, let them all settle down, and then go for it. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame really, because the open wheel cars handle really well, especially in cockpit view. You can feel every bump of the circuit. It's really atmospheric. Yeah, they're great. It's just a shame about the way they start off. And if you look at the minimap here, we can see what I mean about the AI pacing. We've got a group of 3 cars in front, then a gap, then a 2, then a single car, then another group of 2, then a gap, and then some more cars in groups. So you've got battles all the way down the field continuously. So the other great thing that makes it such a fantastic single-player racer is the immersion, and that comes from both the physics and handling and also the views. So we can see here we're in a cockpit cam, and we can see that through the physics engine all the bumps on the surface and via the suspension translate themselves into the cockpit view. So you really feel as though you're in that car. So the cars have a great weight as well to them. They really feel like they're connected to that track. It's sort of difficult to explain, but there's some games where, although they handle really well and everything, there's just that slight disconnect between what you see in the cockpit and what the car is actually doing. In fact, I think Project Cars 2 falls into a bit of that trap itself. It just doesn't feel as immersive as this one. And if you're not playing in cockpit cam, both the bonnet cam and the chase cam, they work absolutely brilliantly in Project Cars. Both very playable. And you can see as we're heading down the Nürburgring here with the Pagani in the cockpit, we can see all those tiny movements, all the bumps on the tracks are all translated through the camera into our vision. These really ramp up that immersion. So for single player offline racing then, yeah, the career mode's still quite good if you want to do a bit of that. You've not got car collecting and tuning like you have in Gran Turismo, so if that's your thing, then Project Cars does not offer that. But what it does offer is some great racing if you use the custom race method. So pick your cars, pick your circuits, pick your weather conditions. You can see the weather conditions here, absolutely great. The rain effects are brilliant from the cockpit view. The rain does make a difference as well to how you drive. You have to be a lot more careful with feathering the throttle. And with the custom races, you can set up various weather slots as well, so that you can have the weather changing from dry to wet, and therefore you can put in pit stops as well to make the races a bit more interesting if you're doing longer races. You've got real-time tyre wear as well. Also, with time of day progression, you can set it so you can start off in the light, drive through the night, and then finish off at dawn the next day. So there's plenty of options to be able to set up some wonderful custom races. And don't forget with Project Cars that all the cars are available right from the off. So if you don't like racing particular cars, if you don't like open wheels, you can just pick any normal cars. You can go straight for whichever car you choose to set up those races with. You don't have to worry about progressing through certain careers. Some people don't like that, but for me that's just perfect. I just like to get out there and race. So for Project Cars then, it's recently been available on the PlayStation Store sale for £3.24. Now for that price it's an absolute bargain. Even if you just wanted to pick one or two cars and set up some custom races over various tracks, you'll soon get your money's worth and enjoyment out of that. I would advise going for the Game of the Year edition. That's got quite a few extra cars and also a few extra circuits on there. Again, that goes for about £6.50 odd when it's in sale, so well worth the price. And keep a lookout for my video on controller settings for the DualSense. Most cars are controllable with the pad throughout the game. There's always the odd one or two that are a bit difficult, but with some gentle movements and balancing the throttle, you should be able to get some smooth lines going. Not necessarily that fast, like I'm pretty slow, but at least you can have some enjoyable racing. So thanks very much for watching, hope it's been useful, and we'll see you next time.